Hey, Stricker Trauma, and today I'm going to answer a question that I get asked on occasion, and it is about veterans who are separating from the military who want to go into public safety. Great thing from my standpoint. I work with several guys who prior military, who these are individuals who come out. They already have the ability to put a uniform on and wear it properly. They know about being at the right place at the right time, and they understand chain of command. They're just preloaded with a level of discipline and motivation that a lot of the younger generation don't consequently have at this moment. So I always enjoy working with guys who are prior military. But the question I get most of the time is, and generally I get it from mom or grandma, and then I say, well, you're going to have the kid talk to me, is, they're coming out of the military. What would be the right thing, police or fire? Right? And so I've talked to a couple of these guys, and really honestly tried steering them towards dispatch. They were in fields in the military that were technology driven or administrative or communications, and said, hey, listen, if that's your gig, if that's what you enjoy, maybe you ought to aim yourself towards the dispatch center. Consequently, I've talked to a few guys who came out and they were infantry guys, and they thought, really the only thing that they could do was to go and become, a police officer. And through speaking with them, it becomes evident really quick that I always ask them, what is the aspect of the military that you did like? Obviously you didn't like everything because you're not going to make it your long-term career, but what are the aspects of the military life that you did like? And the answer I get quite oftentimes would be, I really enjoyed the brotherhood. I really enjoyed the camaraderie. And so when I get that answer, what I try to do is I try to get these guys to think about, most of them are thinking automatically they have to go in law enforcement. And I say, you might want to second and think that, because the vast majority of law enforcement agencies in the United States, they ride one single guy to a car. He comes in the morning, he signs on the radio, and he shags from call to call to call to call to call. And he might get to see other officers if the type of call they're responding to calls for more than one police officer. But as soon as they resolve that call, they spread back out to the winds and they're shagging more calls, And so the guys who want that sense of camaraderie, the guys who want that brotherhood sense that they had in the military, I say, you know what? Give the fire service a really good look. By far and large, the majority of all fire departments in the United States are volunteer. But when you do get into career departments, you can find career departments where, depending upon their minimum crew manning size, and depending upon the amount of apparatus they have at a station, you can actually get into groups where you have a significant number of people who are stationed at a shift that you're in an apparatus that you're stationed at. So an example would be the station that I report to duty at. There are two apparatus at that station, and there are 3 people who ride on each one of those 2 apparatus. So at my station on my shift, there are 7 guys there. And so the guys who, the camaraderie and the brotherhood and the constantly being with other guys and, that type of a thing, who that's the part of the military service that they enjoyed, I try to tell them, to give the fire service a good, honest look, because, it's one thing to come out of the military thinking that you don't have a skill applicable to the civilian service. But you do, because you have you've been preloaded with a lot of the things that public safety entities are looking for, but it doesn't always have to be law enforcement. So that would be my recommendation, is if you're a guy who you're transitioning out of the military and you're going into the civilian world and you're looking at what the right job for you is, the vast majority of all fire departments out there will train you from the ground up. And then if you're the guy who wants the brotherhood aspect and the constantly being in a group around other people, a first alarm fire in my battalion is roughly about 25 people. So if you're that guy who wants to be around a bunch of other guys, then and hanging out, and the brotherhood that you get out of that, take a look at the fire service over the law enforcement aspect of it, because it might be that thing that you enjoyed the most about your military service that you can then take advantage of in the civilian world and public safety. And then the other thing that I always try to tell guys about who are coming out of the military is that most retirement systems I know that are government-based retirement systems that deal with public safety is they'll allow you to, at a discounted rate, purchase your military time into your retirement for public safety. So, you know, if you spent 4, 5, 6 years in the military and now you're going to transition over into public safety, you can purchase the credit of that military time into your public safety retirement system, and it's at a pretty discounted rate. I mean, it's an actual deal. And then, you know, you're starting into a job in public safety where you really haven't lost all that military time, and you're counting that towards your public safety retirement as well. So great fit, military veterans, public safety, you know, phenomenal fit. I really think it goes back to the character of, hey, you know, we're here to do something, we're here to help. So that's a question I get asked quite frequently, actually. And, you know, that's generally the answer I try to give to people. A lot of times I'll say, you know, if grandma or mom calls me, I'll try to get a phone number and I'll try to sit down and have a conversation on the phone with the guy and say, what is it that you know, like? Because, again, I had a kid who was in the Air Force who was EOD. And I absolutely told him, you know, in my state, in the state where I work, all EOD is done by law enforcement. So if he wanted to go into EOD, he would have to do law enforcement, no question about it. There are other states in the United States where if the fire service actually does explosives ordnance disposal. So there's not a one answer fits everything, but it's going to be really specific towards what it is that you're looking for coming out of military service, and then, you know, what it is in the area that you want to relocate to, what public safety looks like in that area. So, and guys, you can always stop by a local fire department and kind of get the lay of the land. And believe me, firemen will love to tell you about what their job is like, whether it be good, bad, or different. You know, they love to talk about the job. So, you know, if that's something that you're interested in doing, do your homework. But again, don't think if you're coming out of the military that the only transition into public safety you have is law enforcement. I always try to get guys to steer their eye towards the fire service if they can, because it does have a little bit better of that whole brotherhood camaraderie thing going on than what you see in normal law enforcement. All right, so if you're transitioning out and you kind of been wondering about that, I hope that helps answer that question for you. I'm Trick or Trauma. You guys have a good day.